Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back, Arizona Unplugged channel. It's Christmas Day, and this is a garden update number 3. So we just got back from San Diego a couple days ago, and yesterday, which was New Year's, Christmas Eve, and today Christmas. The wife and I have been out here in the garden area, clearing out more trees, processing more firewood, and just working hard. So as you can see, there's a big pile of firewood. This is for next year's winter, and this is just the beginning of it. I did most of this yesterday. A lot of work, guys. Just clearing the land, getting ready to build gardens and animal pens and orchards and whatnot. So as you can see, we got the east side of the cabin cleared up, and there's another pile of firewood right there. But this is the most important part. So the last video I made, the garden update number 2, I talked about levels 2 and 3. Again, if you're new here, we're on the side of a mountain. Actually, this is just the foothills of those mountains up there. So our property slopes downhill to the north. But this is, we're calling this terrace number 3 or level number 3. This entire garden, and again, to recap, when I say garden, I mean orchards, gardens, and animals. Here's one big pile of branches. This has all been processed already. Over here, we got another pile, and then the wife is working on another pile right over there by our 22 target range. But this area here is gonna be part of level number 2. It'll go back. I'm gonna take these trees out tomorrow morning, and this, it's kind of hard to tell with the branches here, but this cut will actually extend to there, making this part of level number 2. And then where I spent most of the afternoon today, up in this area, this is going to be level number 3 right behind me here. So this is the highest level. This is going to get the orchards. This is where we're going to put our fruit trees and possibly some animals more over here. I want the animals close enough and within shooting distance from the back porch of the cabin, just because we have so many predators here. I think they're going to be in need of some backup, some protection. But this area, level number 3, I think is the largest out of the other 2. It might actually be level 3. Looks like, you know, it's hard to determine with all these big piles of branches here, but I think level 3 is the size of levels 1 and 2 combined. So you see, I cleared out all these trees, all these ones that are laying down here, and while clearing these trees, I actually processed the usable pieces into firewood. In our wood stove, we can burn up to, I believe, 24-inch logs. So I try to cut them down to, you know, roughly 18 inches in size. I'll grab one here. Oh, it's still connected. So this is just a small branch, but about 18 inches. I've got just hundreds of them scattered out here. So I've been doing the majority of the chainsawing, cutting, and the wife would come behind me and take and pile all the small branches in the piles, and taking all the cut firewood and making piles of that, so we can get a truck back here, load it up, and take it over to the wood processing center that you guys have seen already. The branches, now, our first round of cutting when we first moved here, all these little branches that you would see behind me, we actually burned. It took me 2 days to burn them all. It was just so much stuff to get rid of. I'm going to take you down to level number 1 here and show you this. Okay, so here's level number 1. And this is where we did all our burning, because this is the the biggest spot with nothing flammable near it. Because sometimes these flames will get, 10, 15, 20 feet up in the air. And of course we have water out here and fire extinguishers and all that, but this is where all the other branches that were burned in a little pile. These branches, however, we're actually going to chip them. I'm going to rent a big tow behind brush chipper. We're going to chip all these small branches, and we're going to use that mulch at the bottoms of our garden boxes, our raised garden boxes, which for the most part will be here on level number 1 and up here on level number 2. So you see all that debris, all that will be chipped down, stored, and then once this is all leveled and terraced properly with more boulders like this, I'm going to build the raised beds, and this mulched material will go in the bottom of the raised beds themselves. I'm probably going to do about 18-inch tall raised beds, and if you consider, the amount of mulch it would take to fill one of those halfway is just a lot. So that's why we're keeping all of these branches to fill up those beds at least halfway, and then we're going to do good potting soil on top. Just because that stuff is not cheap, and the amount we need is pretty extreme. I'll probably have Home Depot deliver a bunch of it out here with their flatbeds. They can't make it here to the property, but at the entrance to the ranch they can go there and unload, and I've got my big flatbed trailer. But anyways, I digress. So we're not done cutting yet. I am done today. I'm exhausted. Yesterday and today, just, you got to give it up to lumberjacks. That is a hard job. Just carrying that chainsaw, and cutting, doing above head cuts, and then you're bending over, you're moving branches. It's just very, very tiring. But these trees directly behind me are going to go as well. And then over here, there it is. That's the shop with the 2 water tanks. All these trees that are close to the shop are going to come down. Those water tanks are going to sit right there. The wife already prepped the land so we can enclose that covered porch patio thing. We're going to enclose that. That's going to be a storage room. And trust me, we need it. So we're going to go probably about 20 feet in, so we have a nice defensible zone around the buildings. And this is it. I've got a couple of trees to down in the front just so we have more parking area and areas to turn trucks and trailers around. So we got that and this and a little bit of cleanup, and that's it for cutting for this year. Next year, probably starting in the spring, we're going to do kind of a cleanup of the immediate area here around the cabin and shop, but we're also going to go all the way down to the entrance of the property, because we felled a lot of trees down there that are just sitting there for a few years now. We're going to cut those up, process them into firewood, and get them stacked, stored, ready for next winter. I'm also looking for a spot while we're out here and I know this might seem sad, nobody likes to talk about it, off-grid channels, I don't think I've ever heard them talk about it, but typically when people live off-grid, have a homestead and whatnot, they have pets. They have lots of pets, and eventually those pets, they die. So I'm actually searching out a spot where I want to make kind of a pet cemetery, a la Stephen King movie, as long as they don't come back. So I want to find a nice spot, maybe something like this, nice clearing. And what I want to do is, instead of putting a fence around it, I want to put all the stumps I dig up. I've already got a big pile of them over there, but I want to just stack these stumps up almost like a wall around the pet cemetery, so when they come alive, it's harder for them to get at us. And have a little entrance going in, and that's where we're going to put our pets. And it's sad, you know, to think about that, but we have one dog right now, Max, my wife's dog. He's probably about 14 or 15 years old. He's on his last leg, guys. I mean, it's hard for him to even stand up now. And my old dog, Patsy, she's about 13. She's still doing quite well. I think she's got at least 3 or 4 more good years in her. But I know Max, he probably won't make it through winter. I hope he does, but I kind of doubt he will. He's just really old, and it's hard for him to get up and down anymore. He sleeps a lot. You guys know how it goes. Those of you that have had pets for a long time, you kind of know when the time is getting near. So it's a sad subject, but it's reality. You know, here off-grid, there's life, there's birth, life, and death. That's something that we all got to contend with at some point. So here's the back line of level number 3. That's actually starts right about here. And that clump of trees right there is going to be tomorrow's project. It's going to be a lot more branches to turn into mulch and a lot more firewood for next year's fire season. But you could tell, give you a little shot of the cabin. It's a lot of open area. I think now that this is all cut, this is a good half acre, if not 3/4 of an acre of open space for gardens and animals. This is probably the animal area right here on this side, furthest from the house, but still within shot of our back deck. We are trying to keep all the pines. You see all these trees that are still standing here within the field, they're all pine trees just because they look nice. And you know, even animals love shade when it's hot, and there is some garden produce that also like shade. So we're still keeping some trees out here in the garden area for shade for those reasons. Plus, you know, when we're out here working in the summer, we want to sit down and have a cold drink and sit under the shade of a tree. You know, it's kind of hard to do when you cut them all down. So this is it, guys. This is garden update number 3 on Christmas Day. And it's a beautiful day. I can't believe how beautiful it is. A little cold, it's probably about 50 degrees, 55, but sunny as you can see and clear. They were forecasting rain a couple days ago, but it never came, unfortunately. Right now we are about half of our water capacity, which is a little concerning, but it is what it is. You know, we'll get our rain when it's due. So all this was processed today, all this behind me, all this, and I started right about there. And those are the 2 big piles of branches the wife collected. Our future mulch. But it can be nice once, the plan is, once all these branches are processed into mulch, we're getting a mini excavator out here. So here's a good example of the firewood that we're processing out here. It's all like that. You can see this whole pile. And this is just one little pile. There's, I think between yesterday and today, I've probably processed almost a cord of juniper. I think that's a pretty fair assessment on how much wood I processed. But anyways, going back to the mini excavator, after all these branches are chipped, I'm bringing in the mini excavator to finish terracing these 3 levels. We're going to use the existing rocks and boulders that are just everywhere as retaining walls to hold those levels together. And after that, we're going to start building garden boxes, guys. I do need to get either a mini excavator with an auger attachment or go rent a skid steer with an auger attachment, because all this will be fenced with 6-foot horse fencing. I like horse fencing better than welded wire just because it's just way stronger, way stronger. Not a big fan of welded wire just because after a while it'll just kind of start coming apart. But instead of being welded together, horse fence is actually wrapped around. Each strand is wrapped around each other, so it's just very, very strong. Thicker diameter steel as well. So we're gonna have quite a few rolls of horse fencing needed just for this garden area. But I want to rent one of these pieces of equipment with an auger, because the soil here, once you get down a couple feet, it's caliche, it's just rock hard. It's pretty much like nature's cement. And I learned that when I was putting together this solar panel array. We could not get down more than a couple of feet. So we improvised, got it done, and it's sturdy, it's not going anywhere. But I think you know, we originally started to try to do post holes for the solar array, which I'll show you right there, with one of those hand augers, you know, those 2-man gas-powered hand augers. No, that thing flung us off like we weren't even there, because it would go down through the soft stuff and then hit a rock or hit that caliche and just bind up. But I think with a major piece of equipment like a 4-ton excavator or a skid steer with the auger attachment, I think that might work. I should ask some of the neighbors around here if they've used it, hopefully with some success, and get some ideas. But most of it's going to be T-posts, but all the corners and all the bracing and all the gate entrances, I want all 4x4 pressure treated lumber, dimensional lumber, so I can, you know, make the corners and make the strong braces in between the T-posts, and get that part as solid as possible. One concern we do have here is elk and deer jumping the fence and getting into the gardens and eating the fruit off the fruit trees. I think one thing that will prevent them will be the dogs. The dogs are very acutely aware of any animals that come on the property or close to the cabin, and they don't allow it. So there are line of defense number 1, and then the fencing itself will be line of defense number 2. And then at the end of the day, you know, I got my rifle, and I guess I'm line of defense number 3. Last thing I want is a herd of deer or elk coming in here and just destroying all that we've created as far as our food production. That would be disheartening, to say the least. So I'll show you one last thing before I cut the video, guys. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Vaughn, 50 years old, almost 51, semi-retired, with my wife and I and our little boy William. We live out here in northern Arizona on our almost 50-acre off-grid homestead. We've been out here for going on 5 months full-time now. We've owned this property for about 6 years and finally got it livable. So here's my current stump pile. All these were brought back here by a mini excavator that I had rented. But this is what I want to use to border my little pet cemetery. I may actually put the cemetery up here, more on an elevated location, but still close to the stump, so I don't have to carry them so far. But it allows me to use these stumps, use them for something instead of an eyesore, and also kind of encases the pet cemetery. And again, it's a sad thing to think about, you know, your pet's passing away, but it's part of life. It is what it is. And I think having a nice final resting spot is kind of a respectful thing for pets that have, you know, showed a lot of love as well. So that's about it, guys. I'm just gonna walk around this last clump so I know what I'm getting into tomorrow. So these trees behind me, it's not too bad. There's a lot of pine in here that will stay. You see, here's a pine here. Here's a beautiful pine right here. They're just pretty much anywhere you see juniper trees here, there's multiple pines underneath. So, you know, for the tree huggers that don't like it when people, you know, cut down trees and process them for whatever reason, we're actually giving these pines a better chance at life, because if these pines were to grow up next to these junipers, what happens? I'll show you exactly what happens. When the wind comes, it blows the trees around, and in my opinion, the pines aren't as strong as the junipers. Pine is a softwood, juniper is more of a hardwood. But as you can see, this is damage caused by these trees rubbing against each other. That's number one. Number two, we're actually helping the pines out by cutting the junipers down to give them more sunlight, more access to rainwater, and more access to nutrients in the soil. They're not competing with the junipers that they're growing in. So we're actually doing the pines a favor by thinning out the area. We're doing us a favor by giving us more usable land, and on top of it all, we get garden mulch and we get firewood. So other than junipers having to die, it's all win-win. Except for the junipers. So you gotta weigh the pros and cons, right? I think I'm gonna take down this little tree as well. I want it more rectangular, so when I put the fencing up, it's not all, you know, I don't want all kinds of weird angles, and I want everything to be square and true and look nice. So I may need to take, I'm just looking at the side of the cabin, I need to take these guys down as well, right here. Because I want a true, just a big square to make it more visually appealing and have straighter lines with the fences. So this whole garden project, guys, this is all happening this winter. So we're in December now, and I'm hoping we have a mild winter, unlike the last couple that have been very unmild. There's some elk poop on the ground here. It's been really cold the last couple years. This year has been unseasonably warm, and it is nice. We are enjoying the warm weather, trust me. I do wish we had some rainfall just to fill the tanks, but we got, I would assume we have 6,000 gallons of water right now, but our full capacity is 10,550. So that's it. That's about it. Still need to process this tree, this juniper that I fell. I still need to cut it up into pieces. Once again, this is how it ends up, like that. Perfect for the wood stove, guys. Perfect. When I look at pieces like this, like 3 of these rounds, probably actually two of these rounds in the wood stove at night, keeps us warm all night and allows us to have coals in the morning to easily start a new fire when we're up enjoying coffee and breakfast. So some more pines behind me. Again, we're trying to keep all the pines that we can. I did lose one yesterday because one of the big junipers I cut actually fell on top of it and snapped it. So that's about it, guys. I'll cut the video here. If you guys have any questions regarding homestead life, how we're living out here, or anything like that, if you're thinking about contemplating, desiring to live like this off-grid, if you have questions about it, hit me up in the comments. I read all the comments, especially if they're newer videos. We are 100% on rainwater catchment. As you can see, the tanks behind me and the solar panels right, where they go? There they are, over there. The solar panels, 100% on rainwater, 100% on solar power. And by spring of this year, we're going to cut our food costs bill dramatically down with the implementation of this garden. The orchards, which we won't have fruit on the trees probably until 2026, but you got to start somewhere. And then we're going to start building our pens for our animals. We plan on doing sheep, goat, hogs, and chickens. Chickens will go here by the cabin. That's where we're going to start, and we'll see where we want to go from there. I'm not sure if we're going to do cattle, just for the simple fact that this is prime elk hunting area, and I like to use elk as our source of red meat rather than beef that we don't know where it came from, what it's eaten, what it's been injected with, all that stuff. Trying to just get back more to nature, guys, and this is the right place to do that. So I'll cut the video here. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a great holiday with yourself and your families. And until the next one, Prep and Thrive. We'll see you again.